Down payment assistance sounds like a dream come true. Free money. Who wouldn't want that? But it might not be what you've signed up for. It's important that you know the real facts, no BS, some hidden cost and requirements so that you can make an informed decision. Let's get to it. Here's what no one tells you about the down payment assistance programs and the thing that you need to avoid. Let's start with the basics. Down payment assistance programs are meant to help not only first-time buyers, but there are some programs for repetitive buyers as well. It's generally meant for people or households that have limited income. So there's limits on the income that you can have for the down payment assistance. Not all of them are tied to a geographic area, so that's the good news. And there are credit score requirements as well, so we're going to go over that right now. So assistance programs have different types of assistance. The first type of assistance are grants. Now, keep in mind that the assistance is state level. There is no federal assistance currently that's available, and I'm making this video in early 2025. Now, that could change in the future, but the federal government passes money to the states, and the states make these programs. So a grant is something that does not have to be paid back. It is a grant. Now, generally, these are only for first-time buyers. Then there's forgivable loans. It means that you get into the home with a assistance program. There's a second lien that's created, which is attached to the house. And as long as you live there for a certain period of time, it's then forgivable. So for example, in the state that I live in, Texas, 3 years is common. However, then there's a city program in Houston that you have to live there for 20 years in order for the assistance to be forgiven. Some programs have 10 years. So the ones that I've seen are 3, 10, and 20 years. So make sure that when you're inquiring with a lender in your state about the programs that you ask about how many years before it's forgivable. Then a third type are deferred payment loans. This means that it's repayable assistance. That's another common one where it's a second lien that's created again. It's a lien that's created and tied to your house, but there's generally, most of the time, no payment required. There's no interest on the money. It's just sitting there waiting for you to either sell the property or refinance the property. So when that original loan gets paid off, either through sale or refinance, it will be due and payable on that time. That's called a repayable or a deferred payment type of financing. So those are the three most common and the only that I've seen as far as types of assistance. Sounds great, right? Well, let's look a little further into what you're really signing up for. Here's where things get tricky because there are some hidden costs. Let's check it out. Higher interest rates. In almost every case that I have ever seen, at least in my state of Texas, the down payment assistance programs, whether it's a grant, deferred, or repayable, has a higher interest rate than you could get if you didn't take the assistance. Now, that's not always the case. In Texas, for example, there is one program that it's very stringent and it's harder to meet the qualifications, but that rate is generally a tad bit lower than you could get normally without the assistance, but the closing costs are higher. So there's the rate, and then there's also the closing costs. So that's another hidden feature is closing costs. Not only are the rates higher, whether it's slight or a lot higher, there's also closing costs that you need to look at. So many of these programs have admin fees that go to the state that administers them. I've seen anywhere from $500 to $600 in additional fees that are due at closing, in addition to what we call origination fees or percentages of fees that are required to obtain this program. So this is something that can really start to add up. So my suggestion is that when you're talking to the lender about the costs, why don't you get an estimate of what your payment and closing costs would be without the assistance compared to what it would be with the assistance. And then that way you can just look side by side. Y'all, I've seen some home buyers pay tens of thousands of dollars more over the long term of their loan because they're taking the assistance. Now, I am a proponent, don't get me wrong, of down payment assistance because there's some of you that without the assistance, there would be no loan. And I'm definitely a proponent of home ownership over wasting money on renting. But my goal is to let you know the real facts, no BS about these programs so that you can understand what you're getting into and make good decisions. Okay, restrictions and reading the fine print. Before you get too excited, here's what you need to watch out for. Occupancy requirements. There are programs that will require that the money be paid back in full without recourse if you leave the property and make it a rental. Not all of them, but it's in the fine print. So you need to make sure that you ask, is there a requirement for how long I need to keep the property as my primary residence? Because if the program catches wind, for example, that you've vacated and that you're now renting, they will call that money due and payable. So it is a very, very strict requirement on some, not all programs. Income limits and property restrictions. This is a big one. Almost every down payment assistance program that we've seen, like 90% of them, not all, but most of them, will have income limitations, meaning that if you make over a certain amount of income, you are overqualified for the assistance. The income is determined by the average median income in your area. So every county in every part of the U.S. is different. So that's why it's important to talk to what I believe is a state-specific local lender. If you're buying in Nebraska, talk to a lender in Nebraska. I know that we're all tempted by the shiny online rates, y'all, that are all over the place every time you open up the internet. But I want you to beware when you're talking to a lender that's national that may not know the local programs that you're looking for. You need to beware because they may not know the intricate details of that program in your state. Okay, so just FYI. So income limits, some as well have location guidelines where you have to be buying in a certain area. Now, I don't know about y'all, I am exhausted already. I know that you're like, what are all these details? So take a breath, pause the screen, take a picture if you have to, watch it again. This is really important stuff, and I'm here to save y'all thousands of dollars. Okay, here's the biggest one, recapture tax. Y'all, this is the fine print. There's a program in my state of Texas in where if you sell your house for a profit, the program can recapture part of your profit, a percentage of your profit, to pay them back for the money that they have advanced you. This is called a recapture tax. You need to be careful and see if that is in the fine print. So I'm just going to review this with you really quick of the hidden strings attached that you need to be asking these questions. Number one, are there any income or geographic limitations on this program? Number two, what are the occupancy requirements? How long do I need to occupy this place as my primary home? And if I later use it as a rental property, will there be any type of penalty or due clause? And number three, is there a recapture tax that is required? So y'all, imagine that you think you're getting this money and you find out later that you owe thousands that you really didn't know about. I know that this is a lot of information. Buying a house is a lot. There's a lot of moving parts. This is why we recommend, and I'd love you to watch one of my other videos on how to choose a lender. In fact, I'm going to put it in the notes for you down below, because it's not just about the rate, y'all. It's about information and education. Get a referral from someone in your local community, of someone that they trust, that's going to not just be in it for, oh, I just want to make a sale, I'm in it for the commission. There's a lot of lenders out there like that. Get good info, because it matters. It will matter, and it could save you thousands on making sure that you don't have blind spots that you don't even know about. Okay, so in summary, who actually benefits from these programs? Buyers that really benefit from down payment assistance are ones that can afford the monthly payment, even with the higher interest rate. I know nobody wants to pay higher interest rates, y'all, but for some people, it's the only way that they're getting into a house. I want to pause here for a second and remind you, this is my pep talk. You're buying an appreciating asset. You're buying a home that is going to be increasing in value every single year. I want you to remember, paying rent to a landlord does not do this for you. You're getting no value. You're paying rent every month. Well, you're getting value. You're getting a roof over your head, but you're paying an amount every single month. It's going into the landlord's pocket, and then it's spent. When you're in a home paying a mortgage, every year, your home is increasing in value. You also get mortgage tax deductions. I'm also going to actually there's a video that I have that I will put in the notes, and it's about mortgage income tax deductions when you own a mortgage. That's a benefit of owning a home. So I want y'all to have this information. So back to, who is down payment assistance really good for? It's also really good for those of you that don't have a lot of savings. Y'all, times are hard. There's inflation, cost of goods, cost of eggs has changed like 70% in the last couple of years. I mean, a basic item. So it's hard to make ends meet. There's kids, there's school, there's all the things. Y'all, the down payment assistance, if it's giving a grant or advancing you money, even if you have to pay it back later, it's helping you get over the edge of not needing as much money for closing to get the house that you love for low upfront cost, so you can start appreciating and building wealth as soon as possible. Now that is a good thing. So who is down payment assistance not good for? I would say that down payment assistance is not good for someone who has access to other money to close. So for example, what do I mean by that? If you have a relative that can give you a gift, if you have a 401k that you can borrow from, or some other type of funds that you have, generally when we show clients side by side the no down payment assistance option versus the down payment assistance option, they usually opt to say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and either liquidate or take a loan from my 401k, or I'm going to be able to get a gift. So for those people that have access to that extra money, down payment assistance may not always be a great thing. So if you've got access to that, you might want to seriously consider using that as your down payment. And again, that's why talking to a local state lender that's in your state and really understands intricately the ins and outs of these programs is a very good thing. So alternatives to down payment assistance: before you sign on the dotted line, before you secure the financing, when you're under contract, and when you and a seller are in a binding contract for a home, that's the time where you've got to really make sure that you and the lender have nailed down exactly what type of financing you're going to have. So before you do that, consider those other options of, can I go into a 401k? Do I have gift options? Are there other low down payment alternatives that I might not be considering? Did you know that you don't have to put 20% down to buy a house, even if you're a multiple repeat homeowner? You can put lower down payment. So talking to the lender about, are lower down payment options available? Also, if you're getting with a lender 6 to 12 months out, are there some saving strategies? Find out how much you need and what are the saving strategies of per your home budget, Are there some places where you could cut so that you can save an extra few $100 or $1,000 a month? Like, what is your propensity to be able to save over a 6 to 12 month period to get you ready for a future home purchase? Sometimes y'all waiting and not buying right now because you're going to be saving or improving your credit, having a forecast for the future is an amazing way to be ready for a future purchase. In fact, we suggest that everybody talk to a lender 6 to 12 months out so that you can be prepared. I'm going to put that video down below as well in the resources, because you might want to take a watch as to why this is going to benefit you 6 to 12 months out. Okay, are you ready for a secret tip that not everybody knows about? You can get sellers to pay for your closing costs. So I want you to imagine this. Not only do you have down payment, but you have closing costs as well. Imagine that you have the down payment assistance program, and then your realtor helps you negotiate closing costs to be paid either partly or in whole by a seller. This is a secret weapon, and it definitely takes a professional like a realtor to help you make sure that you are not leaving money on the table. I'm going to put that video down below as well on my hack to get the seller to pay closing costs, but make sure that you include that in your questions for your lender and your realtor. And my last pro tip, looking for homes that have been on the market for a little while, meaning let's say 60 plus days, those are possibly sellers that are ripe to negotiate. So make sure that you talk to your realtor about that as well. Y'all, I've had an amazing time talking to you about these real facts, no BS. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. I release a video every week. Check out the resources below, and I'll talk to you soon.